Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. We are glad to have you with us today. My name is Judy Lucarelli, and I am serving as worship associate today. I use she, her pronouns to describe myself, and I'm a white woman. For those of you who cannot see clearly, I have graying brown hair long enough to braid. Since the age of 12, I have been 5 feet 10 inches tall. I have hazel eyes and wire-rimmed glasses. While I hail from the Wabanaki lands of the Passamaquoddy, we want to acknowledge that here at this church, we are on the lands of the Tocobaga and Seminole peoples. We are a church of many welcomes, and we offer a warm welcome to all of you. This is a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. As such, ours is an active church, and everyone is invited to participate in any of our activities. To learn more about events, our church calendar is on our website, uutarpon.org, or we'd be happy to talk with you during the coffee hour. Our children are with us at the beginning of the service. We have faith formation programming available with our gifted leaders, Jami and Anna. Children gather for their time together with them after the story. If you'd like more information about our programming, please contact Reverend Kristina or see Jami after the service. For those present with us in the sanctuary, we have connection cards, and the thing has been updated. So it works now. In the pews near the hymnals. If you fill one out, front and back, and put it in the offering plate or give it to one of our greeters, we'll be able to stay in touch with you. If you're watching us on Zoom or YouTube, you can send us an email at membership@uutarpon.org to get connected. There are also small cards to write any joys or sorrows that you would like to share with us if you would like me to read your joy or sorrow instead of coming forward to share it yourself at the end of the service. Lay-led services are a time-honored tradition in our heritage. Today, we'll be hearing from our members, Joe Weinstein and Lizzie Wolfson. Music is provided by our music director, Bonnie Whitehurst, and our choir. This is the final Sunday for the choir until the fall. Again, welcome.
We have cleared off the table, the leftovers saved, washed the dishes and put them away. I have told you a story and tucked you in tight at the end of your knockabout day. As the moon sets its sails to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea, I will sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you in good company. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself, you can gather friends around, you can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. There are girls who grow up strong and bold, There are boys, quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some follow behind, some go their own way and time. Some women love women, some men love men, some raise children, some never do. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything that's possible for you. But don't be rattled by names, by taunts, by games. Just seek out spirits true. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart beats, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself, you can gather friends around, you can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. Will be the love you leave behind when you're done.
We light our chalice with these words by Maureen Calorum. In this free church, we come together without creed, focusing instead on the core values of justice, equity, and compassion, of mutual acceptance of our diverse ways of being as we seek to connect ourselves more fully with the unfolding truths of life and our world. We come together in shared conviction that all people deserve a voice in matters that concern them, and that it is up to each of us to protect the rights of all, particularly those who, for whatever reason, have long been held in silence. We come together in the stubborn belief that community is possible and that peace is more than a dream. We commit together to affirm in our actions as well as our words the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. We come together in awareness of our interdependence with all humanity and with the wider web of existence, for that too is part of what is meant by we. We light this chalice as a beacon of hope for all who have gathered here this day, for all who have ever walked through our doors, for those who may yet find this spiritual home, and for those whose paths will never come our way. For all this, and for all those things we dare to hope and dream, we kindle our chalice flame this day.
And let us sing together hymn number 123 in the Gray Book, Spirit of Life.
Okay, guys. So I get the privilege of reading this after you get to hear the beautiful music that went with it. This is Everything Possible, the story for all ages, by Fred Small and illustrated by Allison Brown. Can you hear me? Great. Slow down. Thank you, Judy. Yeah. Put the microphone back. First, I'm going to tell you the story of the song. 40 years ago, when Fred Hirsch was a traveling folk singer, he went to visit his musician friend Janet Peterson. Janet was a lesbian, which means she loved another woman. She was sad as she told Fred about her son, Aaron. She had always taught Aaron that boys could be gentle and kind, but many of his school friends thought they had to be tough and strong and not show their feelings. Aaron really did not know how to fit in. She asked Fred if he would write a song to show Aaron that it is okay to be different, that he could choose how to act and how to live his own life. Sitting on the bus the next day, going back on his traveling musician trails, Fred began to write the song, Everything Possible. It became a big success, and it is still sung today by people who live their lives in their own way and love whomever they want to love. And when I started to read this the other night, this just came out, so this is such a celebration 40 years after the song was written. Joe has bought this book, and when I was reading it, all I wanted to do was sing, but you don't want to hear me sing. So, Everything Possible. We have cleared off the table, the leftovers saved. We washed the dishes and put them away. I have told you a story and tucked you in tight at the end of your knockabout day. As the moon sets its sails to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea, I will sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you good company. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You have to look at the book later. It's so beautiful. I know you have the slides there, but you can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. Some children grow up to be strong and bold, while some are quiet and kind. Some race on ahead. Some take it slow. Some go in their own way and time. Some women love women. Some men love men, and some women love men love women. Some leave every label behind. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything you'll possibly find. Don't be rattled by names, by taunts, by games, but seek out spirits true. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave. This is impromptu. Go now in peace to sing the kids out. So.
Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere. Everywhere you may go. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere. Everywhere you may go.
Now is the time in the service where we take our offering for the work and welfare of this church. Ours is a free faith which must sustain itself financially. There are 3 options to make a donation today. Go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the Donate button. Mail your offering to the church at 57 Reed Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. Or for those of you with us in person in the sanctuary, place your offering in the offering plates as they are passed. This month, the Social Justice Council is asking for donations during the month of June for the Navigator Scouts. This group meets here at UUCTS and is open to all genders, age 4 and up. They offer a safe environment to experience the benefits of scouting, regardless of financial background. Your donations will help us provide camping gear and outdoor equipment, cover the cost of field trips and supplies, and offer scholarships. Make the check out to UUCTS, and on the memo line, put Scouts. You can also donate online at www.uutarpon.org. Select Give the Plate. In the comment, put Scouts, or you can put your check, your personal check, in the Sunday offering. The offering will now be given and received. Now we'll take a brief moment of silence to let you settle into yourselves and your seats. Take a few deep breaths, if that's comfortable, into your body.
So I'm Carol Baker. I didn't plan this part, so I have short, whatever, brown, gray, silvery hair. And I am 71 years old and a white woman who was born in Alaska, grew up in Cincinnati, lived in New York in my 30s, and back to Cincinnati, and now here the last 4.5 years. So I wrote a piece in 1991 called Being Lesbian when I had joined a group, Women Writing for a Change, in Cincinnati, Ohio, a school that started September 5th, 1991, and continues today, and is women and men and girls and boys, so it's wonderful. This was a piece I wrote to really come out to the group as a lesbian, and it helped me emerge further into my own being as a lesbian, and I want to write this, that I realized that one reason I've always thought being a lesbian was so wonderful is that I am one, and I am so wonderful. So that was in 1991 that I wrote that, so I think that's pretty wonderful. This feels like a snapshot in time, and I just want to say the first 36 years I considered myself just a regular person, and then a person who was attracted to men and involved with men and married to one. And then divorced. The next 35, the beginning of it, I fell in love with a woman and opened myself up to that. And the last 20 years of these 35, give or take, has been learning really to love myself. And not that I wouldn't fall in love again, but falling in love with myself is a major journey. So, but here's is a conversation in my head with other people. So, being lesbian. I am a lesbian, and I love being a lesbian. It's not easy to say this, and yet I wanted to tell you. Why isn't it easy? Why? It isn't easy because you may reject, fire, or ridicule me. It isn't easy because you may reply, why are you telling me this? Your personal life is your personal life. Don't you think it's just a phase? Won't you ever love a man again? Is it related to the abuse from your mother? Are you afraid of relationships with men since the loss of Doug? I will always love you, but I think it's wrong. I'm really happy for you, but let's not tell the kids yet. It's my sister whose best friends were a lesbian couple, and aunts to my niece and nephew. Great, but you're not going to cut your hair or stop wearing heels and makeup, are you? Why do you want to tell me? I'm in love for the first time in the 2 years since my divorce. I have found this part of me which is new, frightening, exciting, and so full of life. Sometimes when I think about being a lesbian, I feel the fullness of myself, my body, and I want to dance in celebration. I've just ended my first lesbian relationship, and I am tired, shaky, and I need for somebody at work to know. You're coming to my house tonight with people who do know. My house seems to scream, lesbian, lesbian, and I wanted you to know before you came. I want to dance at your wedding with my lover. You may be a lesbian, and we may become great friends. We are becoming friends, and you don't really know me if I can't share this part of my life with you. By telling you I'm a lesbian, being a lesbian becomes a little bit easier for me and for all other lesbians. You may become more aware and start seeing us everywhere, for we are everywhere. Why are you a lesbian? Why do you love being a lesbian? 3 years ago, a woman came into my life, told me she was attracted to me. I opened myself up to her and to a new life of loving women. Loving women has helped me love myself more, to believe in my own beauty and sexuality more fully. I have loved men passionately, but I walk with no regrets, although with many questions, toward the love of women. I am a lesbian. I want to love women fully. I want to touch and love women. I want to be touched and loved by women. I want to dance and flirt with lesbian women, friends, lovers, maybe strangers. I want to dance across from her, watching her watch me, playing, fantasizing what it might be like to love this woman, to know her, to care for her. I am a lesbian because being part of this wonderfully diverse community of lesbians, women-identified women, women-loving women, I have found my peace, my home. Thank you.
Good morning. Yes. My name is Joe Weinstein, and I guess you'd call me a cisgendered gay male. I'm almost 70 years old, and I have short crop beard and hair, which I cut myself last night, so I'm not sure which side has the hole on it. So my subtitle, my discourse is 5 Fathers, 10 Minutes, a Roller Coaster Ride. Hang on. Father number 1, Dr. Adolf Joseph Weinstein, my beloved birth father, who died of a heart attack in 1959 at age 63 when I was 5 years old. He was an excellent doctor, an ear, eye, nose, throat specialist, back before the eye specialties broke away. We lived in New Jersey, and his office was in Manhattan. And then we moved to St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, when I was a year and a half old. There, and I use these words carefully, in purity and innocence, my older brother David and I, and another little boy, his age, played at gay sex when I was just 2 or 3 years of age, and they were 5 or 6. Apparently, an older male was carrying on with my brother's friend. I remember every detail vividly and with no negative memories at all. Shortly after that happened, I was caught by our live-in maid in broad daylight on a swing set playing at gay sex with another little boy at my instigation. I learned to associate shame and guilt with sex because of our maid looking down at me and saying, "Wait till your father gets home." I honestly don't believe my father ever spanked me. In 1978, I returned to St. Thomas to trace my roots, and I was not disappointed. I easily found my father's grave in the Jewish cemetery. Back at the Windward Passage Hotel, right downtown St. Thomas on the water, the silence was broken on the elevator when a concierge of the hotel asked me what a young couple with children were doing on the island, because normally they just get couples and singles. And I told him I was tracing my roots, that I'd visited my father's grave. And he said, "What was your father's name?" I said, "Dr. Adolf Joseph Weinstein," and there's pictures of him here. He said, "I've heard of your father. Do you recall that he had a clinic in his home where he cared for the poor people?" "Yes, I do remember that." Then he put his hand on my shoulder and he declared that the old ladies still sit in the marketplace and talk about your father and what a good man he was. That was priceless. Father number 2, Mom remarried, and a man named Harry Elman Blum became my stepfather. My brother and I called him Blum the Bum. He is variously remembered as a childhood sweetheart of my father and as the man that introduced her to drugs and alcohol. I watched him beat her black and blue on 2 different occasions. The day after the second beating, she went to a lawyer and changed her will, leaving Harry what little was left of what my father had left for us. And the next day, she overdosed on barbiturates. In her suicide note, she declared she couldn't live without Harry. He left for good and wouldn't even kiss her goodbye. She was just 39 years old. Father number 3, Albert Duncan Willis Jr., was one of my mother's 2 brothers. He was my father for the next 5 years. Even at 8.5 years of age, I thought he was handsome, but yet very strange, and actually a dangerous man from my standpoint. He actually had derogatory pet names for each of his children. He was determined to change me from the effeminate little queer boy that my mother had been raising. Remaining Jewish was not an option. My mother had actually put in her note that she wanted us to be raised Jewish, but that wasn't to happen. At the time I went to live with them, they were devout Jehovah's Witnesses who have strong family ethic. So the first few years, things were very peaceful. And I actually adopted that faith, of course, for survival, but because I really believed it. The last 2 years with them, after they fell away from the faith, became like a living hell. I could tell stories. As is often the case with virulent homophobes, it turned out that my Uncle Albert, he doth protest too much. He committed suicide by gunshot at age 50 in 1975. And my brother David and I actually helped officiate his funeral service because it having been a suicide, the elders in the congregation, because their doctrine wouldn't touch it. Of course, we thanked him for having taken us in. At that funeral, I just had to say to Aunt Joyce how much I hated Uncle Albert. I'd get that off my chest. And she said, "Joe, you'd have to stand in line to hate that man," and she told me a few stories. Much of that hatred disappeared more recently when their remaining sibling, my dear Aunt Eleanor, who's become like a mother to me, now 92, gave me the book to read, Pacific War Diary by Charles Fahey. Now, you're not supposed to keep a diary during the war, but he did. And afterwards, he was encouraged by the officials to publish it. And I just couldn't hate someone that had served their country like that in the face of all the deprivation and the ravages of war. Father number 4 is more positive. Weston Borden Howe. He was an unrelated legal guardian. When Uncle Albert put me out at 13, Wes Howe took me in. We were living in the Keys. He was 53, I was 13. It was 1967, the summer of love. And living in his home in the fun-filled Florida Keys was like heaven. I flourished. I quit wetting the bed every night and, really actually put on 20 pounds in a few months. It was a time for puppies, aquariums, bicycles, hamsters, and parakeets. He really doted on me. I was his chance to raise a son that he had but couldn't raise because of a divorce. He actually told me in G-rated terms about his experiences in whorehouses that he visited when he served in the Merchant Marine. He hoped one day I would get to enjoy the extremely wonderful passion of making love to a pregnant woman. As a gay little boy, but that happened. Father number 5, Elmer Tiffany, looked after me for the next year when I lived in the North Florida town called Ponce de Leon, where the need was great, as they say, in the Jehovah's Witness preaching. It's just north of Panama City. On a lonely Greyhound bus trip back to the Keys a few months later for a brief visit, I experienced anonymous gay sex in a men's room. It was Fort Pierce bus station. According to the moral standards of the Jehovah's Witness, I had committed a very grave sin. A few months later, after I'd returned to Ponce de Leon, I met Susan Toussaint, who would go on to be my wife of 16 years. So I had some work to do to make things right. I made full confession to Jehovah God in prayer. That was the first step. And then I was supposed to go to an elder in the congregation. So I went to Elmer Tiffany, and he said, rather than follow the religion's law, which he was supposed to call 2 other elders for a committee, they'd automatically remove my preaching privileges. And he told me that he thought would ruin my life. So he said, I'd let it be between you and me and Jehovah if I do one other thing. I said, what's that? He says, well, you like this woman, right? I said, yes. He said, well, tell her everything you just told me. And I did. And she accepted me. Brandy and Amber, my daughters and my grandchildren, Jordan, he's now 30, Brandon, Sebastian, Gavin, and Sean, he's about 12, and Amber's 3 children, whose names I tend to forget, but I called Brandy yesterday and she reminded me that their names are Ezra, Sophie, and Matilda. They're miracles that I thank guys like Wes Howe and Elmer Tiffany for. I was a father myself at 20, a child myself. In the Jehovah's Witness religion, there's a lot of strong advice about how to parent, raise children, and that includes physical punishment. They say out of love. So I did spank my daughters. In life, I've had several experiences like epiphanies, where personal or universal truths have just popped into my mind, fully formed with clarity. And I've also had what I call rooster crowing experiences that are based on personal failings. You may remember in the Bible about Peter, the night that Jesus was arrested. And when accused of being one of his followers, Peter said, man, I do not know what you are saying. So he denied Christ. Because the Lord had said to him, before a cock crows today, you will disown me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly. Sisters bicker a lot. Brandy and Amber were just 4 years of age apart, so they had a lot of competition going on. They'd come to my wife and me with incessant complaints and problems like, she did this, she said that, it's mine, not hers. She always gets this or that, it's not fair. So I had what I thought was a brilliant idea that would encourage them to solve their own problems without coming to us. I took a blank calendar and I put on every other day for a few months, B.A., B.A. And I told them that the next time they came to me with a problem, whosever day it was would get the spanking. Now think about the psychology of that and what kids would think. Well, when they came to me, it was Brandy's day, the bee on the calendar, and I took her in the other room and gave her a light spanking. They never came to me with the little problems after that. Fast forward 6 or 7 years ago, when my partner, John, who's in the back, and I were going to Unitarian Universalist of Clearwater. They had called a new settled minister after an exceptionally rocky interim ministry. There were several congregations whirling out of control like hornets' nests, and I was looking forward to sharing my story with the new minister. But the new minister's determination was to start from scratch, a clean slate, and not listen to anyone's stories because they might involve another congregant. So, at that moment, a rooster crowed in my mind. I realized that that's exactly what I had done to my daughters. I was refusing to listen to their stories. It seemed obvious now, looking back, but I was oblivious because I guess of pride. Like Peter, I actually went outside and I wept bitterly. Did my cleverness cause my daughters any lasting harm? Well, I've shared this with Brandy, and she assures me no, she got the point, and she still thinks I was somewhat clever. There are many reasons why I have no relationship at all with my younger daughter, Amber, but primarily it's because she's remained a Jehovah's Witness, very devout, and I left it. In 1988, I quit using the religion as a crutch, my tool, to control my gayness, and I got disfellowshipped, or excommunicated. And the official thing when they make an announcement from the platform that Joe Weinstein has been disfellowshipped for conduct unbecoming a Christian. That phrase covers a multitude of sins. Just before her marriage, Amber's, in 2001, she had written me a long letter. I said it was like a dump truck backing up, beep, 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 and dumping on me all of her anger. I had the privilege to write her a couple of letters and set a few things straight. And then she said, please don't write her anymore, period. On the other hand, I have a close, loving relationship with Brandy, and I'd like to read you something she wrote on June 13th, 2016 at 7:37 p.m. on Facebook. So, since I heard about the mess in Orlando, the shooting at Pulse nightclub, as I was getting off work last night, I've been thinking of my dad, Joe Weinstein. As many of you, if not all of you know, he is a wonderful, caring, beautifully handsome gay man. He has been one of my best friends in the whole world my whole life. I know he lives in Tampa, not Orlando, and he really doesn't frequent clubs nowadays, but I started to text him just to be sure and ask if any of his friends could be in danger. Here's the awesome part. As I was texting, he called me. I love you, Daddy Joe. I love that we were on the same wavelength today. I'll call you soon for a longer chat. And just an aside, that the first time I heard the song Everything Possible was at the infamous gay club in Orlando called the Parliament House, where I enjoyed going for drag shows. And they were there as guests, and then I was like a groupie. I went to another club in Orlando a few months later. I drove all the way over to Tampa to hear them in Ybor City. And so I was being exposed to UU philosophy a year or two before I first came to UU Church. That's why I love that song so much. And it was performed by the gay a cappella group, The Flirtations. It's on YouTube. And I told Bonnie earlier that Michael Kalin would be proud of the way she sang it. He was the lead voice. And also the beloved community that I've discovered in several UU congregations since 1993 has certainly served as a leveling and stabilizing force in my life. That is something that I value very highly. I love you guys.
Hello, can we hear okay? Okay. Hi, I'm Lizzie. I'm a white woman and my pronouns are she, her, and I have short blonde hair and I am wearing a off-white linen dress today. So, as I said, my name is Lizzie Wolfson and I'm a card-carrying lesbian. It seems simple to say now, but it took a long time and a lot of work to find my way. You could say I grew up in a multi-faith household, but it didn't really feel that way as a child. My father grew up in the Jewish faith with a Jewish father and a Chinese mother. As an adult, he did not practice any kind of faith or religion. My mom was raised Catholic with hardworking parents of relatively little means. She did not care for Mass and vowed her children would not attend a church where they were bored. As the youngest of three, my mom started looking for a faith community for us when we were young, and she felt at home in the United Methodist Church. They had engaging children's ministries and a support network that she appreciated. She also homeschooled the three of us with conservative Christian homeschooling curriculum and was a bit vigilant about the kinds of media we consumed. Let's just say I wasn't very well-rounded growing up. As I entered my teenage years, my mental health suffered. My siblings were in college, and I was frequently at home alone, just with my parents, lonely and isolated in a Christian bubble that was suffocating me. Fortunately, my parents paid attention and got me the help I needed. Those experiences that I had recovering from an eating disorder and self-harm problems in adolescence lit a spark. I knew at 17 that I wanted to become a therapist. I wanted to learn to do what the skilled professionals I'd worked with had done for me. I attended a local community college, starting in the end of high school, and then transferred to Roberts Wesleyan College for my bachelor's degree. Around that time, I started dating a young man from a non-denominational Christian church I was attending in my hometown, Syracuse, New York. And the big thing at Roberts was to get your ring by spring, follow the teenage pledges we'd all taken for purity, and get married and live happily ever after at the ripe age of 20. I was excited to get married. I actually waited until 21 for the actual wedding, and I did start to notice interest in other young women, but I kind of kept that on the low, moved forward as expected. The marriage didn't work out so well, and after a year of trying, I knew I couldn't keep doing it. And I also knew that the feelings I had for women were not remaining contained. They were demanding to be explored. I ended my marriage on amicable terms and started dating. I told my parents that I was questioning my orientation and would be dating both men and women. I think they were surprised. There was a lot of silence, but my mom especially came along for the journey, asking questions, some ignorant, but all honest. During this period of time, I attended an LGBTQ affirming United Methodist Church with the woman that I was dating for a few months, not so much because I cared for the church, but because I was going with her. I realized during my coming out process that there was a lot to unlearn. I had been taught that sex was for marriage and that marriage was between men and women only. It started to occur to me that this paradigm fit with some people's lived experience, but it did not fit with mine. If same-sex relationships were wrong, the question I had to ask was simply why. And I realized the only answer I'd ever had was because the church says so, or allegedly because the Bible says so. But even I knew how few verses actually mention homosexuality. It was helpful for me to unpack my beliefs and disregard the ones that did not fit as a young adult. It freed me in many wonderful ways. As I was on winter break between semesters, getting ready to finish my master's in social work, I thought my world was falling apart when my girlfriend of about 3 months ended our relationship. Cycling between tears and confusion and anger, I also remember experiencing the worst heartbreak and wondering if it was worth continuing to try at relationships if this was how bad it felt when they ended. Fortunately, I did not remain heartbroken forever. Got back into dating once I'd had some time. And I matched with a young woman on Tinder. We were exchanging conversations before eventually meeting. Our schedules were very opposite, as she worked overnights as a chef at the local casino, so we ended up meeting when she got off work at 4 a.m. I got up very early, made some coffee for us, and she showed up at my house, which, yes, I know that was naive and unsafe, about 5 a.m. She immediately apologized because the bottle of Snapple iced tea she'd brought had rolled out of her lap and broken in my driveway. So we hit it off and started dating regularly. And after a couple weeks, she offhandedly mentions, "I told you I have plans to move to Tampa, right?" And I said, no. She expressed she's tired of our hometown, as we both were, and wanted to broaden her horizons. So she and her best friend had saved up and found an apartment and had jobs. I knew that I wanted to go somewhere new after school, and my only other prospect was a post-grad fellowship at Yale. So when I wasn't chosen for the program, my path was clear, and I came to Florida. By the way, something in me told me to save some of that broken glass, and I sanded down the edges, and I made a little necklace for her, and I brought that with me today. We got married on February 2nd of 2020, and then we welcomed our daughter into the world November 5th of 2021. That being said, my spiritual path, when I came to Florida, I didn't give much thought to religion. I focused a bit on spirituality and maintained a practice of mindful meditation, as I had learned from dialectical behavior therapy in my adolescence. I've explored pagan traditions a bit, reading and learning about crystals, spells, and setting intentions. I have some books and oils and crystals that I enjoy using. Helps to ground and center me. It wasn't until I started focusing on reaching out and networking more in the local community as a small business owner that churches came to mind, and a colleague pointed out that affirming churches might be a good place to find like-minded people with a focus on community. I searched Unitarian Universalist, knowing pretty little about it, and I found Tarpon Springs and Clearwater, both equal distances from my home. So I just kind of randomly picked this one and came out. And I'm so glad that I did. I didn't know how aligned with my own values the church was. And I've enjoyed getting to know this congregation and finding the location for my new office. The church seems to be largely unknown or underknown among my peers and friends, and so I've been working on spreading awareness a bit, and when I discuss the church and what it stands for, many remark that it sounds wonderful and they'd like to check it out. We all need acceptance and family, and I believe that this is the exact kind of place where so many of us can find it, and I'm very thankful that I did. Thank you.
Our final hymn is number 170 in the Gray Book, 170. And notice that there are verses 5 and 6 on the bottom of that second page, and we will be singing all of them.
We hope you found meaning in today's service. We close with these words by Kevin Jago. When the candle dims, the wax almost spent, the life turns amber like a sunset, still it provides light. Still it provides heat. Still it can kindle new flame and pass its glow on and contribute to new illumination when sunsets turn to new days, when seasons transform all, when the candle dims, all is not lost. Hope continues, uncertain and true, like candlelight, ready to spark again. All is not lost.